Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Shiv Nadar School podcast. I am your host for today, Rayrith Kundu from Grade 11 IB in the Faridabad Campus. Today, we'll be talking about the ever-changing landscape of education and how to prepare students for success in this dynamic and shifting world. Joining us today, we have two fantastic guests. First, we have Miss Anju Wal, Director Principal for Shiv Nadar School Faridabad, as well as Director Continuous Profession Development at Shiv Nadar School. We're also joined by Ms. Bhavjeet Kaur, a parent at Shiv Nadar School as well as an HR professional at a multinational corporation. It's great to have you both here with us today. So ma'am, to start, I think it's only fair we start off talking about technology if we're talking about an ever-changing landscape. And it's clear that technology, especially the recent advancements in artificial intelligence, are reshaping the way and the way we look at life and various aspects of our lives. So, as an educator, how would you say that these trends are shaping the future for education?
Right. Thank you, Rayrith. And we're very happy to be here with Bhavjeet and you on this podcast. Good question. The future is here. It's now. Actually, it's the present. So first, I'd like to say that we talk so much about technology changing the future, whilst we are with technology almost every moment of the day. So that clearly makes it a reality. It's compelling, it's demanding, it needs our immediate attention, quite especially in education, and which is truly a slumbering giant. It's perhaps the last to stir to wake up. You know, the story of Rip Van Winkle, if he woke up today after 100 years, he would see how the world has changed, how human beings interact, interface, cross borders, eat, sleep, buy, sell. Everything has undergone perhaps a sea change. But not so education. He walks into a classroom and he sees desks, rows and columns, assembly line of children. That said, I would like to believe, the incorrigible optimist that I am, that too, that potent power of technology is being realized, felt and acknowledged by educators and teachers across the length and breadth of this world. And we'll do a disservice to the new age learner, for whom the teacher is not the only and singular source of information, something which you didn't get from the teacher, human teacher, you get it from other sources, and quite typically now from technology. So it's really powerful. Teachers, when we embrace this and train ourselves to be able to optimize it, we see that it can change and is changing the way learning designs are in classrooms. One of the first things that it is doing, it is being this very, very engaging, important assistant to teachers, as it's for you, as it's very much for every single child. So the repetitive, iterative tasks a teacher does can be done by artificial intelligence. It frees up the teacher's time. In our institution, it actually has done that and freed up the teacher's time to focus on more qualitative, rich, potentially powerful things that she can bring into the classroom along with, as a facilitator, along with the learners. Just imagine, think and feel a classroom where everybody in the room has prior knowledge, has researched something. Where can this discussion go? Where can this collaboration lead to? So that's very, very significant. That's remarkable that is happening.
Yeah, I definitely agree with artificial intelligence being a great aid for students and as well as for teachers. But aside from, helping in learning plans or helping a student to, get more information, how do you think as schools we can incorporate artificial intelligence into the curriculum?
Shall I tell you what's the big elephant in the room for teachers? The big elephant, which is something even at the Shiv Nadar school, we've achieved success, but we know we are on a journey and we know it's partial and to make it 100%. And that is, how do you differentiate learning? So the key thing here is not just how we use artificial intelligence in the fabric of the curriculum as a tool, but what is human intelligence? Where does that come into play? Or when? And when they interweave and interlock? And what is artificial intelligence and its role? Okay? So when we look at adaptive learning, more personalized learning, we look at, as I said, differentiation, not one size fits all. And Shiv Nadar School is anyway not one size fits all, but when I talk of the larger context of our country, for which we are all a part of, in the educational landscape, and it's clearly our responsibility to also keep our perspective there. I say even if it's half size fits all, but it's really hard to make it one-on-one in a 60-minute class or 80-minute. So in walks an AI, yesterday or today, which can lend itself, align itself to personalized, adaptive, differentiated assignments, assessments, tasks, contexts, make it so rich and meaningful that the teacher is in a relaxed space that even though she intervenes to the best of her ability, it's not humanly possible. And that relaxes her to be able to engage with learners who are all learning at their own pace, and yet the ecosystem is moving towards a collective, let me use the word, milestone, academic or sports or arts. That's what I think. The big thing is differentiation in a class.
Yeah, I definitely agree with, differentiated learning needs and individual learning needs being more emphasized. And I think that would be one of the key aspects to, future education policies or future education plans as well. Because if you think of it now, the students have all of the knowledge that they need at their fingertips, with access to the internet. So it's no longer about for schools to provide access to quality education. It's more how can schools instill the drive for education and the passion for learning in the child.
Agree with you.
Yeah. And I do think that, this is for sure a revolution as well. And as a revolution does, it is bound to bring about some changes. So, ma'am, I would like to ask you now that, how do you think that these changes affect the career landscape? And how can we prepare students for upcoming careers of the future?
So, Rayrith, thank you so much. I think a very relevant question, and it's amazing. It's a very nascent stage when we speak about these competencies in the school. And what I understand from while Anju ma'am was talking, what I understand is that we are trying to inculcate some practical knowledge into the curriculum, and we're trying to bring in those project knowledge into the system, where we're trying to adapt to research and a lot of subject knowledge around it. I feel competencies like effective communication, storyboarding is something very, very relevant in today's time, because when you're working on a project as a student, you should be able to storyboard your project as well effectively, right? Bringing in some analytical aspect to your project will create a more relevance to the environment. Having good social skills around, mingling with the team, working in collaboration, in tandem, understanding the need of hour is problem solving, and critical thinking. The ability to have the risk to involve yourself in projects which will give back, the results, is something which is very, very, very important. And opportunities are everywhere. It's up to us how we identify them, how we go ahead, take a risk and identify them and work towards them and effectively storyboard them. So our own curiosity as a student, as a learner, as an educator, will evolve wherever we want to go ahead with. But these are certain things which will always be with us. It's like a puzzle, right? Having a technical and a softer aspect will complete the puzzle. It's not just having a sound technical knowledge, but the softer aspects completes it. So I believe certain aspects which are critical to us would be effective communication, having a good knowledge about a subject, and working together as a team is something which I feel is very, very important. And whenever a teacher and an educator is in the class, having a little bit of time where you make them understand what is collaboration. Together, everyone achieves more is very important. So we are working towards a common goal. With globalization coming in, important, value the culture which is around. Work towards it. It's working on different time zone, creating that awareness. So I think all said and done, these are the few competencies which would stay on with us and which kids, kind of evolve.
Yeah, I think you rightly encapsulated that, career opportunities and as well as employers or organizations are now also looking for, a diverse set of skills, which includes soft skills as well.
Yes.
It's no longer just about, your technical proficiency.
Yes, 100%, Rayrith. I totally agree. It's just not technical. It's both the aspects. I may be there technically, but if I'm not there in the softer way, probably will not do the trick for me. But if I'm there in the softer way, if I'm able to express myself well, right, I'm able to stand up and say, showcase my curiosity, probably that's it. That's what brings you closer to the reality.
Yeah. So as you pointed out earlier as well, communication, problem solving, critical thinking, curiosity, all of these are necessary soft skills that one needs to have. So, ma'am, I would like to ask you that how do you think that educational practices can evolve to foster capacity building?
Thank you, Rayrith. And I was listening to Bhavjeet talking about soft skills, which is quite, I believe, the power skills, way above any kind of technical skills at any age, from the dawn of the human era. The French novelist Victor Hugo made a statement in The Future of Man. It's pretty well known. He said that there's nothing more powerful in the world, not even all the armies put together, than an idea whose time has come. And in this podcast, in this conversation today, we are talking about that revolution and that idea. Having said that, and I liked what Bhavjeet talked about, the power skills, and you added about curiosity and the drive and the passion. Now look at curiosity. Does anybody teach a child to be curious? He's so naturally curious. A human child, as a 1-year-old. I remember when we were younger, and now you have all these very safe plugs in people's homes. But we used to put tapes when my children were small so that they won't go and poke their finger. A child is fearless. That's the point I'm making. He or she is curious. They don't know this is harmful. They'll put their finger in fire. They'll put their finger anywhere. And that fearlessness is actually telling us that a human child has the innate ability to learn. We don't have to teach a child to learn. The job of schools is to keep the joy of learning alive. That's it. Just keep the joy of that moment of learning, that realization, that maybe that moment of epiphany quite alive in the class. Why do I bring this in this conversation today? I bring this in the conversation for a very definitive reason. Let us look at AI or technology as a tool and not the crutch of education. It shouldn't be the crutch. What became the crutch? Prescribed textbooks. What has become the crutch? I don't see a difference actually. From prescribed textbooks to technology, to chalk and talk methods, to a sample model answer on the blackboard for a child to learn. it impeded the child's, or continues to impede sometimes, the child's own thinking. So when the child doesn't have the moment to think beyond, as we keep saying, and it's the teacher's job to create the beyond minutes in the class, those moments, and bring in a lot of student agency, students as leaders, a lot of student voice in the classroom where they are the drivers of their own learning, and the teacher in the true sense is, as Tagore said, guide by the side or the facilitator. That's what I want to say, that's how capacity building can, in the true essence, happen.
Yeah, I think that was a great point that you mentioned, that, the student is driving their own learning and it's curiosity which fuels that learning. I would like to add that, I think where most students get particularly discouraged is that, they may feel that what they're learning in their classrooms is maybe irrelevant to their real lives. So, like, why would I need to know mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell to function in the daily world? So how can you suggest some practical examples for making classroom learning more relevant so that the students still have their drive for education?
So the teacher definitely needs to contextualize learning. Very simple example. Your parents are driving you on the highway and you're going on a holiday, and it's a new car that has been bought, say, a year ago. It comes with an instruction manual, but nobody has ever looked how to change a tire until the need arises how to change a tire. And on the highway, there is a flat tire, and let's imagine there's nothing in sight and you can't even call a mechanic as early as you want to. Your father picks up the manual, you assist, your mother assists, and whoever else is in the vehicle. And that need drives my reason to learn. That context drives my reason to learn. All that the teacher has to do is make the learning applicable to a real life situation, which at the Shiv Nadar school is the cornerstone of all teaching, as you know it. And I mean, there are multiple examples out there. You are the best one to give because, the proof of the pudding is in its eating. You experience it every day. So contextualize it, make it real-time based, bring in more case studies, use applications. I believe there is a wonderful one which is about history, where you can actually simulate conversation with legends of history, dead and gone, but the most powerful statesmen or people who have changed the course of human history. And that makes it so evocative. So make it evocative, make it stimulating, make it real life, and make it, as Bhavjeet said here, about practical learning. It's an oft-repeated word, but practical learning means what you practice every day.
Ma'am, I think ma'am has rightly talked about, hands-on learning and what that does for a practical experience for the student. So would you say that, interdisciplinary learning has a role to play as well? It just should not just be an isolated form of education.
It definitely has an impact, I would say. What ma'am right now was talking about practical learning, and practical learning is something which gives you more confidence. It actually evolves you into a better learner. You get to know what are your strength areas you would be able to push, right? And from there you can identify your need of improvement. I would not call it weaknesses. I would call it the improvement areas. So very, very important, interdisciplinary, holistically, this gives an educator as well as student a platform to explore.
So ma'am, that was a great point that you made, about practical learning. And I personally feel that, aside from academics, I think practical learning is a way that is something that can be applied to, life as well, doing things hands-on, grabbing the opportunities, as you said. So, and one thing that people often tend to forget is the stakeholders for education for a student is not just the school, but the families and the parents as well. So as a parent, how do you feel about the efforts being made in between the parent and the school to, push a student towards success?
It's very, very important. Please understand, it's a partnership. It's a collaborative effort. It can't be just one way. While you seek education from the educator, you're also making the child, a better human being, right? So it's a give and take. You seek feedback, you work on it, and also you give feedback. It's actually working on the strengths and the improvement area of a child. You work on your strengths step by step, and you work on your improvement areas every day to become better. So I would say it's a partnership. It's a give and take. As a parent, I feel very important that I, at the same time, I tell my educators what are the strengths of my child. I also seek where is it that I need to work upon with my child. It's togetherness, right? It goes something beyond classrooms. It's not something in the classroom. I mean, if I'm seeking for something which is just in the classroom, it's done and dusted. I mean, whatever you're making out of it, and the pressure is reversed on the child. The goal is to create a better human being. That's what the educator's job should be. With the practical thinking, with the collaboration, it's a joint effort. In today's scenario, it's absolutely a joint effort. And I think that is the key to success for bringing up the child anywhere. I mean, in school or at homes, that's where I feel is the key.
Yeah, I think that encapsulates the need for parent partnership pretty well. And I would like to thank you both for sharing your insights. So, ma'am, as we wrap up, I'd like to ask you, what embodies the philosophy for lifelong learning? How can learning be made fun and meaningful and memorable?
Right, Rayrith. I believe that should be the educational philosophy coming from all the researchers and theorists and our own co-creation. That is truly fundamental to learning. Learning is for life. But sometimes schools snuff it out. And our only job, I believe, apart from many other things, but our very significant job is to not extinguish a child's curiosity. Just don't extinguish that. Look, learning is an emotional process. Okay? And this is not me talking, this is research talking, that learning is an emotional process. That's why at the very beginning when I told you human intelligence and artificial intelligence, they both have their roles and responsibilities whilst they are interlocked. Why will a human teacher never get irrelevant in a school system or in the education system? Why? Because you learn best from people you like. A YouTube video or other tutorials will not evoke or stir my emotions. They give me information, I'll process it, I'll get it. But it doesn't build in me the love for the subject. That's the main difference between learning from a teacher you like. You know, in your own school life, you're as young as 16 and you have liked subjects because you liked the teacher. And there was some magic happening in the class with that teacher, her attributes, her value system, and just her pedagogy or the way she got all of you together or continues to do that. So the love for learning, the human intervention is critical. That's the cornerstone of the philosophy. We'll never be irrelevant. I think we'll always stay significant in a child's life because learning is an emotional process. The other thing which is very important for us to understand when we look at the power and potency of technology is that it has democratized education. Today, the NEP is talking about bringing inside the fold of formal education, whilst for years, Anganwadis, unorganized learning spaces weren't even recognized as learning centers. So today, the NEP says that bring them into the fold of formal education, and people are actually talking seriously about technology enhancing, elevating foundational learning, early childhood learning. Those are some spectacular things that are going to happen. Another very important thing is who teaches us ethics? I mean, the biggest regret of Einstein was to have made that bomb. And he didn't know how it's ever going to be used. That's just an example to say how important the human intervention or human intelligence is and will continue to be. Because how does a child learn ethics, good principles of life, which are priceless, which will never go away? And Bhavjeet did mention about other skill sets of collaboration as well as communication and confidence. I feel even the personal attributes of kindness, of empathy, of compassion, that's going to come from that teacher in the classroom. And children they don't learn when they are told, they learn by observation. They learn by modeling. And our teachers being that, the children pick up. This is the way humans have to be. So I think ethics are pretty much foundational to educational philosophy and all the beautiful power attributes of being kind and not always right. It's okay to be wrong, to deal with mistakes, the culpability, as well as being empathetic and compassionate, because much is being talked of the wellness of students. So not just physical fitness, but emotional wellness of children and teachers alike. I think the COVID has been a catalyst in many ways than one. One thing which comes immediate to mind, which I'm happy to put it out there, schools will need to learn here and now how to optimize face-to-face teaching vis-a-vis online teaching. Because climate changes and other scenarios of the world we live in, whether they're economic or geographical or demographical or political, we need to use that online classroom tool which we have ourselves trained ourselves to be able to engage with it. So when children are in school, how does the pedagogy shift? And how do we really make that powerful moment when we are face-to-face? And what do we do about pedagogical changes when children are online? Those are some things for which not just training, mind shifts will happen and learning will be for life.
Yeah, I think, outlining the need for human intervention in the classroom, as well as talking about, the harmonization of human intelligence and artificial intelligence is quite a perfect note for us to end on. I'd like to thank the both of you once again for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning. Thank you.